If there is one thing I wish I could just inception into everyone when it comes to leveling up your point strategies, it is to optimize your return on investment rather than to minimize your out-of-pocket cost. So often, whenever we give advice, people lead with, well, how much does it cost? Because they're not sure what other questions to ask to quantify if something is a good deal. And if it costs literally anything, the next line is going to be, oh, I don't want to spend any money for this. The point is to travel for free, but spoilers, it is not. And by approaching the game this way, you actually really limit yourself from finding many better deals. So in today's video, we are diving into 5 different things that I personally spend some amount of money on in order to level up in points, and how you can check if it's a good move for you as well. So let's dive right in. The first thing on my list for high ROI expenses for my points strategy are investing in different tools. So for example, I like to use Seats.Aero quite a bit. I like to use Roam.travel whenever we are looking for flight deals for clients, especially over to Asia. And we'll talk about PointMe in just a second as well, because this one I think is also good, but there's a couple of ways that you can just access it for free. So in case you're not familiar with Seats.Aero or Roam.travel, we have tons of tutorials on them on our channel, but there are a couple different ways you can go about this. With Seats.Aero, you can click on Explore, and if you already have points with a particular system, so let's say you have United miles, you can use this to find flight deals from North America over to Europe, and if you get the Pro version, which is $10 per month, then you can search the entire year instead of just 60 days into the future, which is what you can access by using the free version. So let's say that we wanted to search deals from North America over to Europe for a full year, and we can even filter this and say, we only want to see deals where there are at least 4 seats or more available in business class. So once your results load, then you will just sort by business class lowest, and the best saver price that you can get with United flying from North America over to Europe is 80,000 points per person one way in business class, and your taxes and fees will usually be about $5, $15, maybe $30. So here we see lots of different deals from Chicago to Munich, San Francisco to Frankfurt, IAD over to Paris, Newark over to Frankfurt, Newark over to Ireland. So this is how you would use Seats.Aero if you already have a particular type of points currency banked up, like United, American Airlines, JetBlue, Air France, Air Canada, etc. Another popular use case for this tool is to go into the search field, where if you have flexible points and you haven't already gotten them locked in with a particular airline, then you can use these different multi-city codes in order to find great flight deals. For example, you can search from the entire United States over to Asia, and let's say that we wanted to travel sometime next summer. You can even say plus or minus 14 days or however many days you want. You can set filters for what kind of taxes you're willing to pay, how many available seats you need, and if you just want first or business class. With these few filters, this is where the Pro version comes into play, where you pay $10 per month, and then you can filter down the results to say, we only need results with at least 4 seats, we need business or first class, and then that way you don't have to spend so much time manually sifting through all of the results on your own. Once again, you'll just sort by business class lowest, and if somebody were searching for flight deals from the United States over to Asia on this particular week that I selected, there aren't a ton of flight deals, but it looks like Air Canada has some, American Airlines has a couple, and most of the rest of them are just going to be in economy. I also have this points filter set up to where the maximum points I wanted to see were 141,000, but if we are a little bit more loose on that, then we can expand and see that there are some deals with Alaska Airlines where it's 150,000 points instead. Similarly, you have lots of different filters where you can pick which programs you want to see results from. If you have only a couple of cards with American Express, but you don't have any with Capital One, you can set up those filters here as well. And so for $10 per month, we use this tool so often to find client flight deals. But it doesn't have everything. Oftentimes we'll have clients who are looking to go to Asia and we'll search on Seats.Aero and there won't be a ton of deals. And that's because they don't support a lot of the different airlines where we oftentimes find client flight deals over to Asia. With Roam.travel, you can search Singapore Airlines, you can search Cathay Pacific. I hear that they are working on EVA as well. They have most of the Avios programs in here. And so between those, you're much more likely to find different flight deals over to Asia. So let's say that you wanted to search on Singapore Airlines from anywhere to anywhere. You can just select flights and then Singapore Airlines up here, and it'll show you a lot of different short hop flights between, for example, Singapore and Jakarta. But let's say that you wanted to use this for finding flights from the US, you can do that, and then search from end of September to next November. And we see some different flight deals from JFK over to Frankfurt for only 87.5 thousand points with Singapore. And that looks like what most of their business class flight deals currently available are right now. Looks like I also had this points filter, so if we remove that, then we see some first class options from JFK over to Frankfurt and a lot of business class flight deals over to Asia as well. With PointMe, this one's pretty affordable as well, but you can access it for free if you have an American Express card, or if you want to download the free built app, then you don't have to pay for PointMe, and I would prioritize instead using Seats.aero or Roam.travel as well. If you are new to points and miles, we have a free live training for how to optimize your points that you do not want to miss out on. You can sign up at geobreezetravel.com/webinar. The training is completely free, but it's not recorded. And if you miss it, you miss out, because we talk about some really juicy stuff that's not posted anywhere else. Next up, we are talking about cards with some kind of annual fee. But as you get more and more cards, the fees start to add up. So how do you know when you've optimized? Well, here is the play. The next thing I want to talk about that has a really high ROI for your points strategy is to invest in some kind of annual fee card. Probably one of those $95 annual fee cards that have transferable points. The most popular one that you hear about is probably the Chase Sapphire Preferred, since it can transfer both to airline partners as well as Hyatt for some pretty good hotel redemptions. But other ones that are good as well would include the Capital One Venture Card, where if you just want one card everywhere, $95, earn 2 points per dollar everywhere so you don't have to worry about category bonuses or juggling multiple cards, this one is great as well. There's also the new City Strata Premier card, which I think is really underhyped. This one is also a $95 a year annual fee. It has transferable points to a variety of different airline partners and a couple very useful hotel partners as well, such as Choice Hotels, where you can move points at a 1-to-2 rate. If you already have a particular trip planned out and you know what kind of points you're going to need, I would recommend checking out this page on upgradedpoints.com. Their transfer partner tool calculator is pretty cool, where you can select the type of points that you have. So let's say you're working with Capital One miles. This will show you all of the different Capital One partners where you can move over to Accor, Air Canada, Avianca, British Airways, and a whole bunch of other things that come later alphabetically. If you are working with City Points because you decide to go for the City Strata Premier card, then a very valuable transfer partner here is American Airlines, where it moves 1-to-1. Cathay Pacific, Choice moves at a 1-to-2 rate. Emirates is not as good because it moves from 1 to 0.8. But there are a lot of other transfer partners here as well. It also moves over to Thai Airways at a 1-to-2 rate, but it takes 4 days to transfer over. So you kind of pick your poison there on if you value quick transfer time or an effective transfer bonus whenever you're moving your points over. But while there is this hurdle mentally for a lot of people to pay $95 of annual fees for their first card, and that does have a very high ROI, I do want to touch really quick on the concept of marginal utility. This is an economics concept where basically for each additional card that you get, the first one makes all the difference. The ratio of 1 versus 0 of these cards, huge. But then as you get your 5th card, 7th card, 12th card, the gain that you get each time diminishes. Getting 5 of these annual fee cards doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get 5 times as much utility or value out of those cards versus if you just get your first one. So the first step I know is the hardest, but it's also the one that gives you the most juice out of your squeeze. And as you can see here on this utility curve, there is a point where it starts to go down in utility. This is for people who have gotten completely crazy on their credit card annual fees. They've applied for 20 cards, not really having a strategy in place. They're paying way too much in annual fees and not getting all of their benefits out of the card. That's what happens on the tail end here. So the point of optimization right here is a little bit different for each person depending on what your expenses are, how much you're traveling, what kind of points you need. But in concept, it's going to stay the same, where getting one of these cards, whether it's a Chase Sapphire Preferred, Venture X, City Strata Premier, or any of the other ones that introduce you into transferable currencies, makes all the difference. And then after that, the difference is smaller and smaller each time. So if you're just getting started, we do free credit card consults at geobreezetravel.com/consultations. Definitely get your first card. After that, make sure you're thinking strategically of how you're going to use your next card, especially if you're on card number 15 or something like that. If you're not sure what card to get, we offer free credit card consultations. Just go to geobreezetravel.com/consultations, fill out the quick form, and I will personally respond to you from there with some personalized credit card recommendations for your next card. For example, maybe it's time for you to get a premium credit card, but this can be a big move since the annual fees are much higher and many of the cards have redundant benefits. So now that we've talked about how high the ROI is on getting your first annual fee card where it has transferable points, let's talk about some more of the premium credit cards. This could include something like the Capital One Venture X where the annual fee is $395 per year. Or it could include something like the Chase Sapphire Reserve, which has a $795 annual fee. Or even the American Express Platinum card, which recently increased its annual fee to $895. These are just the personal cards. We're not even talking about business cards here, but these annual fees can get very, very high. And it can especially get high if you are stacking multiples of these cards in your wallet and you are paying many thousands of dollars in annual fees each year. So, do these have a high return on investment? Once again, I would say your first one probably does. Subsequently, you get less and less additional value each time, so it's more and more important the more cards you get to do that cost-benefit analysis of, does this one additional card really add to my portfolio? Does it really help me to get my goals in place? Or do I just have FOMO and I feel the need to collect them all like the credit cards are Pokemon or something? So with the Venture X Rewards card, it's $395 per year, but you get a $300 travel credit, $120 global entry, and then 10,000 bonus miles each year. All of those together are very easy to use and they will come out to more than $400 of value. But then let's say the next one you want to get is the Chase Sapphire Reserve card, where it says it's got $2,700 in value with a $300 annual credit, $500 for stays in their hotel collection called the Edit. You have a $300 dining credit, $120 Dash Pass, $300 DoorDash, $300 StubHub, once in a lifetime moments. You have lots of these little coupons that you can use. And so you might get a lot more than $800 in value, which would justify the annual fee. But you also have to think about, as you are juggling that with having a Venture X Rewards card already, does something like the lounge access that you would get from having this Chase Sapphire Reserve really add much more to your life? Possibly if you are at an airport frequently where you want to specifically get into the Chase Sapphire Lounge. But if you're using it for the Priority Pass access, you already have that through your first card. So again, the additional value each time goes down, but the first one really does add value. And then once you're stacking on all three of these with the Amex Platinum card, you're triple dipping into a lot of redundant benefits when it comes to lounge access with Priority Pass, a lot of the global entry or TSA pre-check credits, and you are juggling a lot of those lifestyle coupon things there. So if you would naturally be using these things anyway, where you're staying at hotels and want the additional upgrade, you want Clear, you want the Uber credits, you're going out to eat at these Resi restaurants anyway, you're shopping at Lululemon and Saks and all of that. If you are going to use those credits anyway, and it's very easy for you to do so without buying things that you didn't need just so that you can use the credit, by all means, go for the cards. But when calculating ROI, I would say your first premium card, it's going to definitely add a lot more value to your life once you're at that level. Past the first one, make sure you're really doing a cost-benefit analysis and asking yourself, does this add value to the strategy that I want? If you want to limit the number of cards that you're opening, but you still need more points, purchasing points can be a great option, but you don't want to just buy points whenever they're on sale. Do this instead. The next high ROI item that I want to talk about is purchasing points for flights instead of always just depending on the points generated from your credit cards. Depending on how much you're traveling each year, the points generated by credit card sign-up bonuses and organic spend might already be enough for you to earn all the points that you need, but in case you need more, don't sleep on the strategy of purchasing points. Here's how to figure out if it's worth it, because I really don't recommend just speculatively buying points because they're on sale. What you want to do instead is go in with a little bit more intention than that. So I like going to onemileatatime.com/deals and scrolling through the different offers that they have here. So for example, there's this offer that says you can buy Etihad guest miles with a 25% bonus, aka it would be 1.6 cents per mile. Is that a good deal? And should you purchase them? Rule number 1 for if you should purchase points. Make sure you already see the availability for the flight that you want to use those points on, because at least more than once in the past. Some airlines have made their points really, really cheap and put them on sale, and then people bought a whole bunch of them and then they devalued their chart. So make sure that you're going to spend the points same day or at least same week. Let's use this Etihad example. What I would do here is go on seats.aero, click on explore, and let's say that you wanted to fly on Etihad. You can also use this filter to say I want to fly on Etihad's own metal over to Abu Dhabi, and you'll see that there's a few different dates where you could fly from either JFK, Atlanta, Boston, IAD, or a couple other airports over to Abu Dhabi, and it would cost 120,000 points in business class or 160,000 points in first class. So now what you want to do is make sure that you see those flights also available on Etihad's own website. So what we'll do is we'll go to Etihad, we'll click one way, we will search from JFK over to Abu Dhabi, and we're just going to look for one person in business class using points, and then confirm that the date here is going to be the same as what you saw on seats.aero. So let's look for this one, which would be on January 9. Then go ahead and click on continue, and here we do see that it is available for 160,000 points plus $544. Now, should we go ahead and purchase the points, assuming we don't have any other points for this Abu Dhabi flight? Maybe. If we were to purchase 120,000 points required, and it's 1.6 cents per point, then that means you're going to end up spending $1,920 for this business class flight. So if you're like, yeah, I think a little bit under $2,000 over to Abu Dhabi in Etihad business class, this seems like a pretty good deal, especially when you compare it to the retail value of the flight, which would be $4,800 normally. So if you're the kind of business owner or high-income individual who normally purchases these flights anyway, just on retail value, you can save yourself a couple $1,000s on each flight if you check to make sure that there are some points on sale, and then maybe purchase those points and use them towards your flight instead. This is rule number 2, is make sure that the purchase price of the points is going to be less than just the purchase price of the flight. Because let's say the flight happened to be on sale for $1,500, just buy the flight for $1,500. No use going through all of these different points hoops, paying $1,900 for points, and then going through and doing the award search redemption. That makes no sense. So in summary, purchasing points can have a very high ROI and can be a really pivotal point in your point strategy. Just make sure that number 1, you're not speculatively buying points just because they're on sale. You have a strategy for it. And number 2, the purchase price of the points is going to be less than just purchasing the flight that you are going to take. Our last tutorial goes over when it's worth it to pay for status. Status can be a great option to get extra perks when you fly or stay at hotels, and there are different shortcuts to spend a couple $100s to save a few $1,000s on earning status. But sometimes it's not worth chasing. And if you are looking for even more advanced help with your points and calculating when something is a good deal, we have a couple of options for you. The first one is the GeoBreeze Travel Patreon, which you can join starting at just $5 per month through patreon.com/GeoBreezeTravel. Every month, we prepare personalized step-by-step tutorials for the routes that our members request. We also provide open forum group coaching, where you can ask any questions that you have about points, miles, and credit cards in general. And if you are looking to get even more free travel with your points, and you are a business owner or individual who spends more than $100,000 per year on your expenses, book a free intro call with us at geobreezetravel.com/intro call to learn more. Okay, let's dive into if it makes sense to pay for status. And the last investment that I want to talk about, which may or may not have a high ROI for your point strategy, is purchasing different things that can get you status. So some of these could be co-branded credit cards, like for example, the Hilton Honors Aspire card gets you automatic top tier diamond status with Hilton. It's got an annual fee of $550. The Marriott Bonvoy Brilliant card with Marriott has a pretty high annual fee as well, and it comes with automatic platinum status with Marriott. And there are a few other cards that we've done a whole video on where it's an easy way to get fast track status just by having the co-branded card rather than staying a whole bunch of nights with these different hotel brands. Similarly with IHG, you can just buy status. You don't even need to have a special credit card. If you purchase Intercontinental Ambassador status, you will automatically get platinum tier status, and this is just $225 per year. So the different hotel chains will have relatively easy ways to obtain status, either high level or mid level, just by having a co-branded credit card or by paying some kind of fee into their program. It's usually a few $100s, and it may or may not be worth it. And what that depends on is how much you're actually going to stay at these hotels. Like for example, I stayed maybe 2 nights at a Hilton last year. It would not really be worth it for me to get this Aspire card, $550 a year, even though it does come with a free night certificate, which can be worth thousands of dollars depending on where you use it. But once again, if we think about that marginal utility of each card, I already have Hyatt Globalist status. I already have Marriott Platinum status. I bought the IHG Ambassador status. So you want to make sure you're doing that cost-benefit analysis of, are you actually going to use this, or are you just chasing status because you like being able to say you have so many different statuses? There are entire businesses devoted to that if you are one of those people who really likes chasing status and getting status with as many hotel programs and airlines as you can. I do recommend just checking out statusmatch.com. You can just click join the waitlist and give them your info about what statuses you already have. They will send you personalized emails about, hey, we're doing this campaign with such and such airline. For example, here it's with Vietnam Airlines, where I assume it's because I submitted a form that says I have American Airlines Executive Platinum status, so I get a lot of these emails from them where I could status match to lots of different airlines across the world. But these aren't free. It's free to get the notifications, but if I did want to status match with something, it's usually a couple $100 if I wanted to get status matched over to another program. It can be a good way to get status with Oneworld and Star Alliance and SkyTeam and a couple of the independent airlines like possibly Emirates if you wanted to go do this and if you fly enough to justify it. But if you're just taking 1 or 2 vacations a year, I would say this is not for you. This is more so for somebody who is a frequent flyer, who flies a lot for work, and maybe like you moved cities or something and you used to be really into Alaska or American Airlines, but now you live in a United hub and it would be really nice if you could get United status or some kind of Star Alliance status instead. That is who I would recommend this for, since it does have some kind of upfront cost, and in order for you to have a high return on investment on it, you want to make sure that you're actually going to use said status. I hope you found these tutorials useful. Let us know in the comments if there are any topics that you would like to see covered in future videos. And in the meantime, if you enjoyed this video, I think you'll enjoy this video next.